Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mac's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.SheilaMac.com today.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we're in a dark area here. So if you're watching this, it's a little darker than usual with some power outages and interesting weather. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about how to save money on education. So I'm your host again, Sheila Mac, and I am a former school teacher turned consultant. I have had 6 children, now grown, adopted 3, and I know firsthand the challenges that come with trying to pay for this college education. I mean, it is really crazy and expensive right now. And so I wanted to share this very important tip that a lot of people don't know. The cost of tuition, books, and other expenses can add up really quickly, leaving many families struggling to make ends meet. But there is a solution, and it's called the CLEP exam, and that's CLEP, CLEP exam. So the CLEP exam is a test that allows students to earn college credit for knowing they had what they've already gained. So they already know the answers, or you can actually study for the CLEP tests. And this means that students can skip over many of the general education requirements and go straight into the courses that are specific to the major that they're focused on. So the best part, whether you are a high school student, if you're homeschooling especially, this is like a no-brainer if you're doing high school, because you can have your students take the test CLEP after studying for the exam and studying that material, and they will get both their high school credit through your individual ISP program, homeschool program, and they will also get that CLEP college credit. You bring that CLEP into the local community college, and then that credit turns into class credit and is transferable to many, just about all of the major colleges. So that is going to cut your college cost in half. Now, let's just say that you're on the other end and you maybe you got into work or your career early and you didn't get your degree. I've talked to a lot of people, consulted with and worked with a lot of people that maybe went that route. And now with the economy and things changing, jobs changing, you want to go back and get a degree and you're wondering, how can I do that on a budget and with very little time to spare? And so if you just got your GED, or if you're older adult in the career over 18, and even if you did not graduate college, high school even, and I've helped some people in that case as well, you're able to go back and You can sign up at any community college. You don't have to worry so much about whether you had your diploma or not, or you got a GED or not. That's fine, because you're over 18. You can still go qualify to get into the college. And before you even go to the college, you can study and you can pass out of so many of these CLEP tests just because you already know the material, or you study a little bit for the material on your own. There's CLEP test prep books at the library even, so you don't even have to buy them. Then there is a small fee for the test, but nothing like the cost of even a college class at the community college level. And that will help you, instead of doing a 4-year degree or even a 2-year, you're going to save about half that time with the general eds that you can pass out of, and with this CLEP test. So I'm going to explain a little bit of how the CLEP exam works. It's actually simple. Students study for the exam on their own time using resources like study guides and practice tests. So even the books at the library have the practice tests, and then you schedule an appointment to take the exam at a testing center. If you pass the exam, or your student passes the exam, they earn college credit for that subject. The CLEP exam is just one of many exams that'll... Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we have special guest Nikki Srail. Nikki is the creator of The Mommy Mood, a newsletter, podcast, and brand for moms to discuss stories, wine, books, events, activities, anything momly. Nikki became a mom at 19 years old, and it changed her life. Creating this brand has allowed her to use her voice to create a mom community of unity. So welcome to the show, Nikki.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you for having me on today. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and one of the things that I like to start off with, this show actually came about after I had my best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, Formula to Go from Rock Bottom Back into Action in Any Situation. And this last 12 months, let's just say, globally, as moms and everybody has had every situation that we couldn't even imagine before hit us. So I'd like to start off with, maybe if you could share a time in your business or personal life where you hit a tough situation and how you got back on track.
Absolutely. So my life has been a journey that's now, trending upward. And as you mentioned, when you introduced me, I became a mom at 19 years old. That was probably the lowest point in my life, although, it's the brightest and the lowest.
Right.
To say I was a bad teenager is an understatement. I was on a path of destruction, rebellion. It was a really tough time. My parents divorced in my teen years, and I think from there, I was just taking a turn the wrong way. Mm-hmm. When I got pregnant with my daughter, I didn't really know what to do. My mom was very difficult to talk to because, she was absorbing the situation. So it was difficult for the both of us. And at that point, I had moved out at just 19 and, trying to go talk to people to see what to do. Had to get a job. I was currently in a community college, ended up dropping out just so that I could work and make sure that we could be supported.
Right.
And from there, she's now 9 today. So let me fast forward a little bit. From there, she's 9 today. I worked for about 4 years full time to be able to support her. And I hit a turning point after about 4 years when she was a little older, could communicate, could go to preschool. And I decided, I think I should go back to school. Mm-hmm. I was working at a daycare, so I was involved with kids, and the daycare was able to push me into the schooling situation as well. And I went to community college. It took about 2.5 years to get through that because I was just going part-time, still needed to work. Right. And finally, fast forward a little more, I actually just graduated in 2020 with a bachelor degree from Loyola University in Chicago. So full circle, almost 9 years later, I was able to graduate with a bachelor degree, push myself to become something bigger than everybody told me. You can't do that. You're not going to graduate. You're not going to be able to have a life for your kids. You know, you're only 19. You can't do it. You can't. That's what everybody kind of shouted at me. And in my mind, it pulled me down a little. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm sick of hearing it. I can, and I'm going to do it. And, you know, time is just, it's just time. It doesn't matter how long it takes, as long as I got there. And, you know, and I did. But of course, I got that degree in 2020, the year of downfall. So 2020 was another big turning point. And although I was able to receive my degree, all of my applications, everything that I was going to school for, which I actually went for marketing, is just put on hold. Everything's put on hold. You know, we're uncertain of this time of the hiring process, hiring freezes all around. So then I sit back and I'm like, okay, well, I'm in a better situation. I'm married now. Actually have a 5-month-old now as well. Although during that time I was actually pregnant when I graduated. So you know, I'm at a different point. I wasn't at a point where I absolutely need to get a job to support. I have a husband who's great and loving, and, you know, we're secure, but I'm the type of person, I'm just like, I need to do something. I want to make a change. I went to school. I wanted to make a statement for, hey, all of you young moms out there, it can be done.
Yes.
So from there, you know, I come talk about the mommy mood. And I actually wanted to create a place where moms can come, and not to talk about, you know, there's plenty of Facebook groups out there where it's like, you know, my son's got a scratch. What do I do? You know, it looks like it's getting infected. And that's not what I'm looking to do. I'm looking for a place for moms to come together and talk about activities they could do at home due to COVID. Things that moms struggle with daily that they just need to talk to someone who's been through it. You know, a night, hey, I don't have my kids tonight. What should I do tonight? Things like that, uplifting things. And it actually started with a newsletter. And I began a blog newsletter campaign and got subscribers. And that's where I started my group. And it talked about different wines, things to do with your kids, book recommendations as you sit in the tub, have a glass of wine, drink a book, things to just ease your mind. And I just wanted a place for everybody to come together and for it all to be in one place so that you don't have to sit down and think, what do I need to do? Oh, let me look at the newsletter and see what recommendations are on here that I can do. Nice. And so, and you know, that's how my downfall came to where I'm at now.
Helping other moms. And I was also a very young mom. My history was that I was homeless at 10 to 13, went to foster care, emancipated at 15, and went to college early. Yet then I was a young mom at 18. I had my first son and had to get a job and learn things. I did get my degree after starting a business that was very successful. I was like, oh, I guess I should have this piece of paper because, you know, it's weird that I don't have it. And it really blessed me and I learned so much. But it is a different route. And as a young mom, and if there's other young moms listening or parents that have maybe a young daughter who just announced, hey, I'm going to be a mom now, it's not the end of all. And for me, I think it kept me out of a lot of trouble. I mean, you and I, we may be in different age ranges, but if we were the same age range and we were the same age at the same time, we would have been best friends because I got into so much trouble also.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And so it was what I needed to do. In fact, I had to make friends with everyone to have a place to sleep every day during the homeless years. And so I had to learn how to really get out there. And I was in Hollywood and sleeping on the benches of the Troubadour and all these crazy things. And so the minute I had my child, it was like, okay, this is a game changer. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. This it changed everything for what.
Exactly.
And it was really hard. I don't know I'd love to hear your experience as far as how you were able to socialize and have fun and friends because there's such a rift between friends that maybe have a child young and those that are still out there having fun.
Right. And so the first year was the hardest. And I knew that just like you, it was a game changer. I had to make a change. And I had come to that decision, although I'm not with the original father anymore. And I think that's where I hit another downfall. And we split very, very quickly. It was about 6 months. She was about 6 months old and we had split. And that just threw me into another loophole. I am very blessed at the fact that I have a family who is there to support me and is nearby, because if I didn't, I probably would have lost her. It was really hard to understand what was happening at such a young age and understand that just because he's not there doesn't mean I can't do it. And I think in my mind, I had given up hope because it wasn't going the way as planned. I didn't have that marriage and then had the baby, and then it wasn't a happily ever after. It was I got pregnant. I think this is the guy I want to be with. And then realizing that, I had grown up and he wasn't quite there. Yeah. And then it's like, I can't have that. I don't want to get in trouble. But then when the split happened, it's like, then I went backwards and, I realized how much I had messed up. And so once I had finally kind of gone out, done my party, I need to get this all out. It was about when she was almost 1, I'm like, okay, let me get back into the game here. Let me support her, keep working. And I did. And so as far as social wise, it took about a year into her life for me to realize how to balance things. Because I feel like I didn't know what that word was at that age. It's like, wait, it's either this or this, but no, it's not. You can balance it if you do things right. And even to this day, now my friends are having kids now and having, some of them have like 3-4-year-olds, whereas my daughter's 9. So she's the oldest out of the group. And, now it's easier for me to understand, as far as the kids go, it doesn't matter. My girlfriends come over with their kids and my daughter's actually very accepting. It's like, oh, he's 4. That's okay. He'll come play with me. It's like, I have things he could do. And it's very easy for us to have a friendship now, and now I'm married to the love of my life and we have another daughter together, and understanding that, we have friends that aren't married and don't have kids, and, we'll get a sitter maybe once a month or so and go out, and it's okay to do as long as you're still putting your kids first. And, my friends that don't have kids, I think it's a little harder for them, because if they reach out and, hey, do you want to go out tonight? It's like, well, I can't. I have the kids. I didn't plan for it. So I think the biggest thing that I've put my foot forward with the friends that I have is we need a plan. I can't do that. You call me and let's go. It's, hey, next week, Friday, can you come out for a little bit? And I'll be like, well, let me see what's going on. Let me plan for this. Yeah. So it actually took years for me to be where I'm at socially now and realize how to balance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is very different and a balancing act for sure. I remember, and this is one thing I'd like to ask you, is how did it affect you as far as you mentioned a little bit about the people that told you you can't? Now you have this baby and this is not possible. Now, for me personally, I remember my friends had just got little jobs that, maybe at the grocery store, the local, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I came in and they were like, you gained weight, you're fat. And I was like, no, I'm pregnant, Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, that wasn't good. And I was like, well, it is what it is. And then I had to work. And so I ended up getting a really good job. With just a certificate from community college, I ended up working programming at JPL, which is like unheard of, because I knocked on the door and then they're like, now you think you're so good. You're better than us. You think and I was like, what are you taught? Yesterday, I wasn't good enough. Now I'm better. then I lost weight, got into shape after the, oh, you think you're so in shape and better. And then, oh, you know, and no matter what it was, then it was, you got a poor car. Why don't you get a better car? And it was always this comparison. And I was like, holy smokes. The nicest thing to say on the air. And what is going on with all the judgment from one woman to another, or girl to girl? I guess we were young women at the time. And it took years. Some of them still ended up working at the same job like 20 years later. And I ran into them and they're like, you know, we were kind of not so nice back in the day, but you never said anything. And I was like, because I really, you know, I didn't even know what to say, first of all, and I didn't want to go there. It wasn't about that. Right. So how did you overcome that kind of experience, or did you have any of that type of experience?
Yeah. So when I was pregnant, obviously I had gotten pregnant and realized I had to get a job, like a full-time real job. And at that point, I actually started working for Sprint, which is now T-Mobile, but it was Sprint. And I got really lucky. And I'll be honest, is because the hiring manager had been in the same situation that I was. She had had her daughter at about 18, 19 years old, and was like, you're gonna do well. I know the type of person you are, and you're gonna work hard, and I'm gonna give you a chance. And she's like, this is full time though. You know, you've never had a full time job, so it's gonna be different. And within my first 6 months, I got promoted, and I became a floor manager there. And from there, I became an assistant manager. And obviously, my work ethic had grown, and I knew what I had to do and keep pushing forward. A lot of the people around me, you know, and we were still young. So a lot of them were still in college, and they were going to get their degrees. And I felt a little pushback because, you know, they would say, oh, you didn't go to college, or, oh, you know, you'd reconnect with some people from high school or whatever. And they're like, oh, you know, I know you had the baby, so you didn't go back to college, and this and that. And it was a little bit of a letdown, knowing that I was, you know, busting my butt, working full time, and they were going off to get their degrees and were probably going to get better jobs eventually. But now, you know, turning things around, there are friends of mine who are still working, like you said, like, you know, it's like 10 years later, and they're still working jobs that I didn't think that they'd be working, or they're having trouble finishing up, or some of them didn't even get their degrees. And it's like, well, now the tables have turned. I'm like, if I could be a mom at 19, go back to school, get a degree, and make myself what I am now, and you're stuck and you don't even have a kid, or you know, it's like, what's going on? And then you know, it's like, don't be hypocritical. It's like, you can do it. Right. And I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, but it's kind of like, you know, when you're getting so much feedback of you're not going to be able to do it, but then, you know, someone who's been through more hardships can do it. It just goes to show that it doesn't matter the place that you're in, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. It could take years, but as long as you're still working to climb that ladder, it could be done.
And I think there's something to be said with, when you become a mom, you will walk on fire for your baby. You will do whatever it takes. I needed that job at JPL because it had health insurance and childcare. And my baby was a sick baby who ended up in the hospital a lot with ear infections and high fevers. They'd have to put him on ice. And it was a couple of years of him being really sick. And so I would be at the hospital and at work. I had no choice but to do. I would never have applied for the job had it not been that it was for the love of that child. Mm-hmm. So I wonder, for those listening in, it's almost like for the love of even our self-love, working on that or finding that hunger or that purpose that's beyond.
Absolutely. And you know, talking about drive too, it's if I'm not pushing forth and putting in that work ethic, it's like, how can my kids want to push and be better? It's, you know, to actually be able to go through that with my daughter watching, wow, mom's coming home and she's doing homework. It's like, wait, maybe I should do my homework. So, you know, it's just showing them how to push forth and have that work ethic for a better life. And, you know, for me, it's never been about money. Obviously, you know, you want to live comfortably and provide for your kids, but it's also, I want to give my kids what they want. And I'm not talking about spoiling with particular items, but it's like, they deserve to go on vacation. They deserve to, you know, my daughter takes horseback riding. It's, you know, that's not a cheap thing, but it's a passion of hers. And I want to fulfill that passion. And to be able to do that means that I got to work hard. So
now, one thing that I have found is that a lot of moms end up putting things down that are their passions. How have you been able to continue your own, whether it's dance, singing, whatever you love to do other than work and take care of everything? How have you managed to keep that in your life?
So it's funny you said singing and dance, and that's exactly what I did. That was my passions. I would record. So my daughter would like walk in, and you know, I'll have my microphone out and my headset on, but it's, you know, she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm recording music." And she's like, "Well, I can hear you singing," and she would kind of she'd want to sit and watch and listen, and I feel like she's grabbed onto that trait. It's like now she's singing and such. And I'm like, you know, you don't have to do that just because I do. That's my passion. You need to have your passions, which regardless, she's got the musical side of her because of what I've done. Although horseback riding is something that I was never able to do as a kid as much as I wanted to. Mm-hmm. And so when she expressed interest, it's like, yeah, I didn't get to do that. So you're going to do it. I'm going to make sure it happens for you. And, but you know, her other activity that she does is dance. And I try not to influence her with my background, she sees it. So regardless, she's going to be influenced in that way. But I always tell her, I say, what do you like to do? And what do you see yourself doing for years to come? What do you really enjoy doing? And dance now has become one of them. And I told her, you know, I don't want to overwhelm her. I'm like, you can only pick a couple things. You can't overwhelm yourself. You still got to focus on school. And then you have a couple things on the side. So it's horseback riding and dance. And I was on a competitive dance team. So the one thing that's kind of rubbed off on her was when she said, I want to dance. And I said, well, how far you want to take it? And she said she wants to be on a stage and compete and all that. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to send you to the place I went just because that's the same mindset that I had. You know, so as much as I push her to be her own self, there's traits that I notice that she's taken from me, and there are traits that I notice that she's developing on her own. And I think that's really healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And moms listening in, I have a special thank you shout out to our sponsors, and that is DavyPiper.com. They have some incredible dancing or singing or whatever it is for you. If you can get back to that, you will see that show up in your children. It doesn't have to be the same passion. It's just permission to have fun again and do your talent and truth. I mean, think about a young child. When you're in your essence and your truth and you're being just beautiful, authentic you, it's not ego. It's just, you're just shining and everybody else is happy because of it. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to share your talent, whatever that is, and pursue that talent. So that's something a lot of times families I've worked with where it's so serious. Maybe they've had business issues, which they had to shut down or figure business at home. The kids are homeschooling, whatever, because the schools were closed in their state, and they forgot the passion, you know, to do something like that. And they also forgot to play, it was just like survival mode, and, you know, do your work, clean the house, and everything was so structured. There was not a recess at home like you have in school, and the kids' grades were going down, and they were like, I don't know, the kids are fighting, we're fighting. Well, yeah, the minute play came back and doing those fun breaks, singing, taking a dance break, it changed the whole
energy of the household. It made it was like you finally can breathe again, and the kids feel that energy no matter what. You don't have to say anything. They can feel it just how you're acting. And then they'll
absolutely
fight. If you're fighting with whoever's in your house, spouse, partner, if you're fighting with them, they're going to start fighting with each other, fighting with the puppy, whatever. They're going to model it. So it's not what we do as much as, I mean, what we say, it's what we do and how we're being and all we're doing. That's going to make a big difference this year. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, there's a time that I had forgotten how to enjoy my hobbies when she was very young, and when it was the toughest time out of that journey. And when I got back into it, you know, I've done musicals in the past, and one of the musicals I did, actually the musical that brought me back into it was The Little Mermaid. And I said, wow, how cool would it be for me to be in the production of The Little Mermaid for my, you know, at that time she was 5 or 6 years old. And so when she came to see me, you know, not to mention that the production that did it was just, the costumes were amazing. Everything just looked amazing. And I was cast as a mer-sister. So I got to be a mermaid on stage. And so my daughter was just so overwhelmed with excitement and joy. And she's like, that's my mom. She's a mermaid on the stage. And it was just really cool to see her so thrilled for me. And, you know, and I think that's important. It's like, we want to be thrilled for the things our kids do, but, you know, it should be vice versa. Your kids should be thrilled for the things that you're doing too, whether it's something you accomplished at work or something you created or something like singing and dancing. It's, you know, don't forget, just age is just a number. The more you keep up with your hobbies, the cooler that your kids think you are.
Yeah.
Dear Sheila, I'm a parent and small business owner, and I admit I'm concerned about stepping back into full-time operations as my city starts to reopen. The other day, my close friend, who also runs a business, called me in tears as she found out one of her employees had attempted to take his own life due to all the isolation this year. As a small business owner and leader of my home, how do I help my family and check in on my employees while rebuilding and reinventing my entire business? I also struggle with my own mixed emotions as I prepare to reopen. How can I stay on track and mentally strong during these times? Signed, Boss Mom. Dear Boss Mom, this is definitely the year for rebooting and reinventing how we all run our businesses and homes. Allow time to possibly have a soft or slower reopening while taking good care of you. As the leader, how you show up each day is going to set the pace and emotional state of how your employees, clients, and family show up. It is more about how you choose to be and all that you are doing that will make all the difference. In the Boots formula I created, there are some steps that can help. The B in Boots is for being. It's about who you are being in all you are doing and who you need to be during this situation. You are going to have to show up and be very different than you were before this crisis. The first O in the Boots formula is for orientation. In order to get the outcomes you desire, you must be brutally honest here. I want X and I have 0 funds for that project. Your outcomes this year need to be realigned to where you find your new orientation on the map. The next O in the Boots formula is for order of operations. Now that you know who you need to be and where your orientation is on your map, you can decide in which order you must do things for the remainder of this year to achieve realistic outcomes. The order in which you do things is going to really drive your results. The T in the Boots formula is for thinking. This is where mindset and your concern to stay strong and help your family and employees maintain mental health awareness comes in. This year especially, setting healthy boundaries and having the resources available to connect loved ones to the right tools can make all the difference. Remember, you don't have to be all and have all the answers, yet the right resources for your employees and family really helps. The S in the Boots formula is for stepping up.
This is the part that takes all of the other pieces you have planned out and puts you and your business back into action. The time is now for us to collectively work together for the hurting among us. My hope is that this video series and my new book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, helps. In my book and on my website, I do provide plenty of free resources to help anyone dealing with a rock bottom situation reinvent and reboot their business and personal life. If you are just tuning in, this is the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and action steps to help you rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and we are here today on NBC's KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. My mother has struggled with gambling addiction for all of my life. She has never been able to save or manage money, and she has been fired in the past for missing too much work because she would call out sick and then go gamble instead. She has not had a job in 10 years. Now my stepdad takes care of her, but she has been running him dry. Even though he works a full-time job, they are barely able to scrape by because she gambles most of his paycheck away. She has borrowed hundreds of dollars from me and will probably never be able to pay me back. My stepdad has a problem with saying no to her. He is in his 60s and has been having heart problems, and I'm scared that if something happens to him, she will become homeless. I am not in a financial position to be able to support her. She refuses to admit she has a problem, and I am afraid she will never realize that she needs help. How can I help my mother? Signed, a concerned daughter.
Dear concerned daughter, there's a big difference between being concerned about your mother, who's now an adult, and enabling her to continue her gambling. It sounds like her husband, your stepdad, is kind of enabling her quite a bit. So the best thing for you to do is to understand that you have to have your own boundaries. Learning to have boundaries is very helpful. And then giving your stepdad and your mom the resources to help them. There's different programs such as Gamblers Anonymous and other resources out there to help your mom, but she does have to want help. And as long as your stepdad's helping her, she may just continue to spend his money or anybody else's money who's going to help her continue her habit. So she needs help finding new habits when she's ready. The best thing to do to help your mom, I would say, is start a savings program. Instead of funding your mom, because your stepdad is there helping her maybe a little bit too much at this point, start to set up a little fund where you just put so much away where if she does hit a rock bottom and gets into a help center or something like that at a certain point later in time, you're able to help when you really need to, and not in a way that would enable her, but where she could get help. And there's resources, there's Social Security, and different things. So your mom is most likely not going to become homeless. You have to decide how much you want to be involved and how much helping can hurt. Sometimes a person has to get to the point where they're willing to ask for help. And in order to do that, they're going to have to get to the point where maybe they do hit a bottom. And so that's a point where you and your stepdad could come together with maybe some other friends that your mom works with that know about her gambling, and do an intervention where you talk and discuss how you're going to loan money or not loan money, what you will help with, and how you can help her to get new healthy habits. Maybe she was a runner or a swimmer, or she was a dancer or singer. Get her back into her hobbies and let her find out that there's life outside of her addiction. I hope this helps. There's plenty of resources in my book that will help you find ways to give your mom and your stepdad more resources. Just remember that you're the healthy ones. You and your stepdad are the ones that are not in addiction right now. So stay out of enabling. And remember that being the healthy ones, don't let the person that's in the addiction drag you and your family, your stepdad, you and the rest of your loved ones down with you, because they will. They'll cost you everything if you don't take control. So remember who's in charge. You need to be in charge. You and your stepdad and all your loved ones, be in charge now so that you avoid your mom hurting herself later and hurting everybody else that she loves. If she was in her right mind, she would want you to help her and make sure that she would never hurt you or your stepdad. As always, if you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today I have a couple of announcements. First, I would like to hear from you. That's right. I would love to hear from you, to be honest. I want to know what your breakthrough is, what your reboot is. How are you reinventing and rebooting your life? What shows would you like to hear more of? What information do you need to help you get back on track this year? And to do that, the best way to connect with me is actually through my new YouTube channel, and that is Sheila Mac Show on YouTube. And there you can see past recordings, and you can also see other information and shares that I have. And I would love for you to share in the comments there what you're needing more of and what you're rebooting this year and how we can help you get back on track. Grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action. Bootstraps and Bra Straps, now available on Amazon, Audible, and wherever fine books are sold. And now a message from our sponsor, My Car and My Cat Due to a Fire, of the Boots formula. In December of 2017, I lost my house, my car, and my cat due to a fire. It sounds like a country music song, but that was my reality, and yet another rock bottom situation. After a long period of doing really well, when we're able to retrain our minds to focus on the positives, we're able to enjoy more of life, even while we're rebuilding and rebooting. We're going to starve those negative thoughts, not feeding them with our attention, time, or energy. When you focus on the good parts of your life, those things that you can be grateful for in this moment, that energy will bring even more good things your way. Contribute and utilize your unique talent. You're not thinking about the problem at hand. You're not showing up for approval. You're just being your best self. You use your rock bottom to set the direction for your life beyond this rock bottom situation. It's important that you are really honest about where you are in this situation. You can't lie because you don't want to give up your personal responsibility. You have to own every part of this and realize it could be worse. It could be better, but this is it. If you aren't able to be honest about where you're starting from, you won't be able to clearly see where you want to go or how to get there. The next letter of Boots will help you answer that. The second O is for order of operations. The third step of the Boots formula is finding the order of operations. When you're in a rock bottom moment, there are certain steps you know you need to take to get out of it, and you need to complete those steps in a certain order. T is for thinking. The fourth step of the Boots formula is thinking. If you recall your thinking at the most successful points in your life, it's probably vastly different from your thinking when a crisis brings you to a rock bottom situation. Often, at the toughest times, our thinking goes to survival. We lose sight of the possibilities and opportunities that are before us. This is where thinking comes into play. It's vital to have a strong mindset in order to keep our boots on and walk out of a rough spot in life. Thinking leads you to a clear vision of where you want to go on that map of your desired outcome. You've made the decision that you're going to New York. Your bags are packed. You have an idea of how you're going to get there. You know the steps you need to take, though you may not know how the hell you're going to take them all, but you've made up your mind. That's where you're going. Tony Robbins often says, it's in the moment of decision that one's destiny is shaped. That decision is the thought that comes before the action steps required to reach your new goal. Everything happens in this step, in that decision. You can see it, feel it, embody it. Things start to show up because you're looking for them and you're open to them. You'll start getting the results you want just because that decision is in your mind. It becomes that real to you. Once you have that clear vision in your mind, you have to see yourself as if you already are living in your desired reality. You're just doing the steps to get there. S is for stepping up. The fifth and final step of the Boots formula is a literal step, stepping up. You've gone through the first 4 steps. You've decided how you're going to show up. You have a picture of where you're going. You know the steps you need to take, and you've made the decision to actually do something. It would be nice if you could just sit, think, and meditate your desired outcome into being. But that's not the way it works. There is some validity to the idea of manifesting what you want, but at the same time, you have to believe enough to actually go out there and take the risk. You have to overcome your fear of giving your first presentation, making your first speech, or writing your first book. You have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to take those steps. S is for stepping up by taking the personal responsibility required for a real reboot. While the B in Boots is about being in the present with who you are in the situation, S is for taking those steps toward the future you want. Is not one size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation. To grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and I have some news for you. Yes, you. I'm celebrating my 3rd year now on the station, and will be expanding the show to a global network as well. You may now find the Sheila Mac Show on all major podcasting channels, and if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, all the episodes are now available for viewing there as well. And I'm asking you for a quick favor. If you like the show, please help support the spread of this reboot channel on YouTube as well. My goal is to help as many people as possible through our interesting times to rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your business and personal life. I also wanted to share a little bit more about how I got here, what I do now, and how designing a business career and life on your terms is more than possible at any age or stage in life. I am an enterprisingly forward-thinking consultant, show host, and best-selling author. But how did I get here? Well, I began my career as an entrepreneur and property investment strategist back when I was 23 years young, when I boldly quit my government job with NASA JPL to open my first of 5 large gift stores while also starting to invest in property. I got to work with some of the world's most loved companies, such as negotiations on leases with Warner Brothers and winning trips to London as the top-selling Crabtree and Evelyn provider in the U.S. for multiple years. My stores were built on heart as I gave back to the community I came from. So now, some of you know this and some of you don't know this, but as a young girl with parents who were not well enough to care for me, I was homeless at age 10, then in foster care, where it was really hard to get a job while in the system. I finally emancipated at the age of 15 to start college early. While running my stores, I worked with a government program. Back then, it was called Job Training Partnership Act, making my stores an open source training site where close to 200 at-risk youth started their careers. Yes, I began my career helping business leaders and working professionals to design a life they love where they can have success in their careers and get to the business of life. See, a funny thing happened along the way. When I first opened my gift store, it was kind of crazy because I was this young upstart. That's what a lot of the store owners called me. My first store was in Montrose, California, in this sweet little hometown shopping park with other stores and restaurants nearby. And so I was the young upstart that didn't know what she was doing. At least that's what everybody said. And I didn't really care what they said. At that age, you know, their opinion was like, I don't really care. So that was probably a really good thing because I stayed focused on what I needed to do. And I had negotiated to lease out a 5,000 square foot gift store that needed a lot of work, and I got free rent and for about 6 months, and I had to start making the rent, which was $5,000 a month, which was a lot of money back then, $1 a square foot. And so I had to learn and relearn. I finally did hire quite soon in the game. I did hire a marketing expert, branding expert, I guess back then, and that lady really helped me to figure things out when I first started. And when you first start a business, especially when you're young, it was like I had no idea what to do, but I needed to learn because my rent was going to start coming due every month. And over that time, I started having more success. I did crazy things like stayed open until almost midnight every night, along with the restaurants who were very close to my store, while everybody else closed shop at about 5 or 6 p.m. So I was making more money from the start, and I just really, my store was to help my kids, and the products I sold was whatever the community wanted. I sold lots of things to people in the entertainment industry. I worked with cruise ships. I worked with many different people in the community. And later on, the store owners actually came to me and asked me if I would consult them and help them. I actually started buying my other buildings because I didn't like the idea. Thank you for joining us on NBC Sheila Mac Show, where we feature real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. Don't forget to catch all of our past episodes available on my YouTube channel at Sheila Mac Show, as well as on KCAA Radio and all major podcasting channels. And before we go, be sure to visit SheilaMac.com to claim your free gift from me, myself, and I, and stay up to date on our monthly focus and special gifts to help you reboot and live your best life. Keep tuning in to the Sheila Mac Show for more inspiration and motivation to help you achieve your goals and give time to that which matters most.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mac's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.SheilaMac.com today.